2004, a group of Russian researchers studying in Siberia claimed to have discovered an extraterrestrial device near the site of the mysterious Tunguska explosion. Scientists still do not know exactly what led to this mysterious explosion on that day in 1908 in Siberia, but the upcoming theories consider the cause of this explosion to be the impact of a large meteorite or an asteroid. During the Tunguska event, hundreds of square kilometers of forest burned, and the signs of this explosion can still be seen decades later. At that time, reports were published claiming that evidence of extraterrestrials had been found at the site of the explosion. But these claims were never proven. Benny Pacer, a researcher at Liverpool John Moores University in the UK, told Space.com, "The Russian team stupidly said, long before the research trip to Siberia, that their main goal was to find the remains of the spaceship, and a week later, they claimed they have managed to find documents." NASA has a fleet of solar probes that are always monitoring space weather, especially during solar flares. In 2012, telescopic images showed a shadow in these eruptions. Some viewers on YouTube said the shadows were actually UFOs that had gone there to refuel from solar plasma. However, NASA announced, this feature is actually something called tongue. It is a region of relatively cold and dense plasma above the globe that is formed by the sun's magnetic field. Due to the effects of the magnetic field, the temperature in the quiet lobes reaches 100,000 degrees Kelvin, while the temperature of the adjacent layers, which are the sun's corona, reaches 2 million degrees. Flares appear as bright points rising from the edge of the sun during a solar eclipse. Scientists are still trying to understand how solar tongues form, but they are certain that the phenomenon has nothing to do with aliens. With NASA's Opportunity and Curiosity rovers regularly imaging the surface of the red planet, viewers have the opportunity to observe and review the activities of these Mars explorers in almost real time. NASA regularly publishes the raw photos of these rovers online. Of course, over the years, some strange shapes have been caught by the cameras of these surfacers. For example, in 2008, Opportunity took a picture of Mars that many viewers interpreted as a Martian woman. In other photos, things like spoons or other things were seen. But the images of these silica-rich Martian rocks may be cases of pareidolia, a term that refers to seeing signs and images that aren't actually there, scientists say. Like the idea of seeing a toasted image of Christ in a cheese sandwich. Seth Shostak, a senior astronomer and director of the SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, Research Center, said in an interview with the Huffington Post that the case for the NASA photo is actually an example of pareidolia, or the brain's ability to create familiar shapes from objects such as animal images and clouds. Shostak explained about this, pareidolia is more than a visual defect. If you are in a place where you need it, such as quickly identifying predators in the forest, pareidolia can also have vital value. Recognizing the image of a crab in a landscape full of sedimentary rocks is not so important, nor is it more surprising than seeing a blinking emoticon after putting a semicolon in parentheses smile the next time you consider such a claim. Consider that the Martian environment is very unsuitable for life, that the surface of the red planet is scorched by intense solar radiation, that the air in it is mainly composed of carbon dioxide, and that there is a lot of atmospheric pressure there. Does not exist. This is a familiar phrase for police stations and astrology writers. There have always been those who call, or write to, the police that they have just seen a UFO in the sky. They may have seen a spot in the sunset or encountered a light in the sky that moved in an unfamiliar way. While every situation is different, one explanation for UFOs is the existence of an extraterrestrial object, the planet Venus. Venus can appear very bright due to its relatively close distance to Earth. The planet is also highly reflective, as sunlight reflects through its clouds. So before calling in and reporting a UFO sighting, be sure to check the sky chart. If you've seen scenes from the Star Wars movie series that show spaceships moving fast, you might be surprised at how fast NASA can travel at the speed of light. For years there has been speculation about an M-drive system, some claiming that NASA is on the verge of achieving such a system. A system that allows scientists to test the controversial frictionless propulsion system in space. The effectiveness of this system has not yet been proven to a large extent, but the extremely high and revolutionary potential of such a system cannot be easily overlooked. The M-drive system is a propulsion system that theoretically produces thrust power by oscillating microwave waves back and forth instead of using fuel. Anyway, such a system is Newton's third law of motion: every action has a reaction equal to it and in the opposite direction violates it. In fact, the basic concept in Newton's third law is that there is no single force in nature. Every force has another force of the same magnitude and in the opposite direction. In fact, all the forces in nature follow this law, and everything in nature works in pairs, like two ends of a stick, etc. The M-drive system has no fuel and therefore technically should not be able to produce propulsion. It is said that NASA has not yet confirmed the results of these tests. With the advent of high-resolution miniature cameras, some have decided to install these cameras on high-altitude balloons and use them for aerial photography. These cameras have sometimes captured stunning images of the blackness of space and sometimes carried tiny passengers, including cute ones, like these Lego pieces and a Canadian flag in 2012. But have they really gone into space? There is no explanation for a balloon going into space, and physics simply explains such a thing. When a balloon goes up into the sky, the air inside the balloon expands in response to the decrease in atmospheric pressure, and eventually the balloon bursts. Even Felix Baumgartner's stunning 2012 jump was performed not from space, but from the stratosphere, a layer of Earth's atmosphere that extends up to 50 kilometers above the Earth's surface. This Austrian skydiver is the first person who was able to break the sound barrier by free falling without a vehicle. At this altitude, the air is thin enough to see the blackness of space, but thick enough to support a high-altitude balloon. Also, the boundary between the Earth's atmosphere and outer space is about twice as long as the upper parts of the stratosphere. Percival Lowell became one of the first popular space writers by publishing books in the late 18th century as well as the 19th century. In his books and writings, he proposed the concept of canals of Mars for the first time. Lowell said there are canals on Mars that were built by an intelligent civilization, perhaps to transport water in desert areas. He claimed to have seen these canals through his telescope and even drew plans of these canals that are still available on the internet. But there are no artificial canals on Mars. So far, many spacecraft have landed on the surface of this planet or orbited it, but none of them have come across any signs of such mysterious channels. However, these spacecraft have encountered smaller natural channels that were probably created by natural processes such as erosion by water and water ice. Nemesis is a theory that has been proposed for a long time. Some astronomers believe that the Sun has a companion star that reaches its closest distance to the solar system every 26 million years, causing asteroids to heat up and collide with Earth. According to the Nemesis theory, since the Earth is hit by meteorites and asteroids with a diameter of more than 5 kilometers every 50 million years, a star called Nemesis orbits the Sun once every 26 million years. Astronomers believe that when Nemesis approaches the Sun, its gravitational field causes meteors to be thrown toward the center of the galaxy. As a result, once every 26 million years, huge meteorite collisions with the planets of the solar system occur. The impact of large meteorites, from the same meteorites that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. However, a 2011 study found that this is unlikely, as comet collisions have never been recorded in a regular pattern. The pattern proposed in this theory is actually a fictitious statistic, or perhaps the result of researchers' efforts to find patterns in nature, while such regular patterns do not exist in nature. The Soviet Union sent several unmanned missions to Venus in the 1970s and 1980s. Several probes from the Soviet Venus series were able to transmit data back to Earth before becoming trapped in Venus's intense atmosphere. In 2012, the Russian news service, RIA Novosty, reported that Leonid Ksenfomality, a scientist who worked on a series of Venus missions, claimed that images transmitted by the Venus probe showed living objects on the surface of the planet. Jonathan Hill, a research technician who worked on image processing for the Mars missions, told Live Science in 2012, the claim that there are life forms on Venus is an example of letting your mind find patterns in low-resolution data, while they simply don't exist at all. According to NASA, the objects that appear to be moving in these images are actually camera lens covers that were removed from the camera after landing. In one photo, the Venera 13 probe is seen next to an object that looks somewhat like a lobster. In another image, again taken by Venera 13, the same object is seen in a different location. The objects seen in the images of Venera 13 and Venera 14 probes are actually fragments of spacecraft that landed at a distance of 950 kilometers. Both of these cameras are the same, one on the front and one on the back, so it makes sense that these covers would be in different places. Also, another photo that Xenofomality claimed was a scorpion was actually just a blur. In 2015, there were rumors that an asteroid would hit Earth in late September. The asteroid was said to hit an area near Puerto Rico. NASA quickly denied the report. Needless to say, such an asteroid never hit Earth. NASA and a network of survey telescopes compiled a list of all known asteroids larger than 140 meters in diameter in 2005 under the mandate of the U.S. Congress. Smaller asteroids are also included in this list. Among these asteroids, according to NASA's predictions, none of them can hit the Earth in the future.